Crime rates stabilize after a violent summer.
Baltimore police need to stem the bleeding right away.
Will this last with several hundred openings on the police force? What you might not see in your neighborhoods. The murder rate doubles in Northeast Baltimore, and there's violence on Morgan State's campus on homecoming weekend. The city's crime crisis affects students. More questions surrounding a city high school football program. Fox 45 News Project Baltimore follows the money. What we found that doesn't seem to add up.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Kai Jackson.
I'm Mary Bubala. Our top story tonight, crime concerns in Baltimore City, even though the deadly violence seems to be slowing down.
Now, the number of murders are down compared to last year. In September, saw fewer lives lost to violence compared to recent years. However, the number of non-fatal shootings is up. And Wallet Hub is naming Baltimore one of the 25 most violent cities in the nation.
Team coverage of the crime crisis includes Keith Daniels looking into how a violent crime surge in Northeast Baltimore is impacting Morgan State University, while Mackenzie Frost continues our investigation into the Safe Streets program.
Our team coverage begins with Jeff Abel, who looks at the violence and the reality that the police department is hundreds of officers short. Jeff.
Well, we're here at the Northern District tonight, where there are now as many as half as many officers fighting crime now as there were a decade ago. And as the predicament continues to worsen, the crime fight remains on life support. When it comes to staffing, Baltimore's police department is in critical condition. The number of officers quitting far exceeds the number of officers who are joining.
When you are losing more officers to retirement and resignations than you can recruit, they're leaving faster than they join, you are in trouble. And Baltimore has been in trouble for a decade.
In fact, staffing statistics from the FBI show that in 2013, more than 2,800 officers were fighting crime in Baltimore, but the numbers have declined every year since. And today, the number of officers has dwindled to less than 2,200.
That means there are only 3 officers for every 4 that the city used to have. And yet crime is getting out of control.
City leaders seem convinced that the presence of officers often deters crime.
We need foot patrol in these areas.
In May, city council members demanded a summer crime plan that resulted in beefed up patrols in the Central District, among others. So far, there have been half as many homicides in that district this year compared to last year. But as the number of officers dwindle, the demand for additional patrols may soon be impossible to meet.
Baltimore Police Department, as it exists now, cannot be sustained unless it can recruit more and retain more of its officers, which it seems under the current leadership, both at the mayor's office and the commissioner's office, incapable of doing.
In a statement, the president of the city's police union writes, "We continue to lose officers at an unprecedented pace. Uniformed patrol is operating in the Rob Peter to pay Paul mentality. Patrol is dangerously low in personnel, as are the detective units. Triaging calls and cases is the norm." Sean Kennedy with the Maryland Public Policy Institute predicts even fewer officers down the road.
If Baltimore has 1,000 officers by the end of the decade, I'll be shocked.
Well, while many police departments across this country are now in a recruiting war, experts say the situation here in Baltimore is far different because its staffing shortage hit years ago, and the city has still not recovered. We're live tonight at the Northern District. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Jeff, thank you. Well, in August, BPD announced new efforts to recruit and retain officers, including a $5,000 signing bonus and $1,000 a month for new recruits to help with housing in their first year. The department also increased starting officer pay to $60,000 and gave all current members an 11% pay increase. Now, when those incentives were announced, some law enforcement experts we talked with said the money isn't enough.
Morale in the Baltimore Police Department is very, very low. And it has nothing to do with money or benefits. Political support from the mayor, from the Baltimore City Council, from the state's attorney. Why would you continue to work at a place that doesn't support you and that actually puts you in legal jeopardy every day that you come to work?
Police officers are working overtime to make up for the staffing problem. Last month, the president of the police union told Fox 45 News officers were forced to work overtime with little to no notice to cover the Maryland Cycling Classic. And officers are also working overtime to watch street corners where squeegee kids gather since the shooting death of Timothy Reynolds in the summer. Police Commissioner Michael Harrison says that plan is not sustainable. However, the Baltimore Police Department does tell Fox 45 News there is no end date for those added patrols.
While the number of lives lost to violence is down overall, the same cannot be said in Northeast Baltimore. The latest crime data from Open Baltimore shows 37 people have been killed so far this year, more than double the amount from the same time last year. 72 people have been shot and survived in Northeast Baltimore this year, compared to 39 at this time last year. Overall, violent crime in Northeast Baltimore is up 17%. And now we're seeing the crime spill onto Morgan State University's campus, a shooting during homecoming.
I'm not really shocked, but at the same time, it's crazy because it's homecoming. We're supposed to have a good time.
Keith Daniels spoke with students about the violent crime. He joins us now live from Morgan State University with the very latest. Keith?
Well, Mary, it was back to school today for students here on campus after that violent weekend, and tonight, how they're coping on campus with the crime. At Morgan State University,
it's a beautiful campus.
For some students,
yeah, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
The timing of a shooting that happened on campus,
it's crazy,
is alarming.
I'm not really shocked, but at the same time, it's crazy because it's homecoming. We're supposed to have a good time.
A 20-year-old man shot down Saturday night outside the Student Center on campus during homecoming weekend. The shooter got away. The victim, who police say was not enrolled in the university, survived. Students back at school Monday reacting to the shooting and the gun violence seen in the city spilling on campus.
It's something that you don't like. I mean, obviously you want to feel safe on your own campus. You want this place to feel like home. You want to feel protected.
This is not the first time gun violence touched Morgan. At the beginning of the school year, Julian Frew, a security guard at an off-campus apartment complex, was shot and killed. Police arrested Chase Wilson, a Morgan student, in that killing. And last year, an 18-year-old student was injured in a shooting on campus after homecoming activities. All of the shootings happened in the Northeastern Police District, where, according to BPD, there have been 37 homicides and 72 non-fatal shootings so far this year. Violent crime around Morgan's campus, and this weekend, on campus.
I always watch my surroundings and watch my back, and I don't be out at night by myself, so on campus.
I do expect things like that to not be happening on campus or preferably in the area at all, but I do feel like despite that, we are rather safe while being on this campus.
Well, so far, no arrests in that campus shooting. Anyone with information is urged to call police. You can remain anonymous by calling Metro Crime Stoppers, and you could be eligible for a reward. We're live at Morgan State University. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
Keith, thank you. Well, we want to know what you think. Do you believe Baltimore's police shortage will lead to increased violence? We just opened the poll, but so far 100% of you say yes. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote and click on the Pulse tab to weigh in.
Turning right now to our ongoing investigation into the Safe Streets program. City leaders are refusing to answer our questions about the program's performance. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost continues our team coverage.
A spokesperson for Bill Henry, Baltimore's comptroller, says the office doesn't have any metrics used when determining how to allocate the money for the Safe Streets program. So right now it's unclear what metrics, if any, are being used to determine whether this program is working.
Going forward,
The Board of Estimates, chaired by Council President Nick Mosby, the panel approving millions of dollars worth of contracts for the city. Next to the Council President, just a few feet away, Mayor Brandon Scott. Then it's City Solicitor Jim Shea. On the other side of Mosby sits Comptroller Bill Henry, and on Mosby's far end, Department of Public Works Director Jason Mitchell. Despite these meetings happening nearly twice a month, these leaders apparently not talking to each other, at least not about the Safe Streets program and millions of dollars they approve in the contracts.
my team nor myself was provided any prior briefing on the restructuring of Safe Streets.
As Fox 45 News continues to dig into the violence prevention program, we asked Comptroller Henry's office a few questions about the Safe Streets program. Remember, Mayor Scott continues to tout the program as data-driven.
We've had Hopkins, we've had all these people, Dr. Daniel Webster, analyze what happens with Safe Streets, which is just one portion of the ecosystem. You can go find that anywhere, and you can see that, and you look at that analysis time and time again about the impact of Safe Streets.
But it's unclear what is defined as a mediation, and the data shows not all Safe Streets locations are a success. So on September 30th, we asked Comptroller Henry's office for the metrics used to determine the disbursement of funds to the Safe Streets program and all contracts between the City of Baltimore and the organizations that administer Safe Streets. 7 days later, we got a response from Henry's office telling Fox 45 News, quote, "We don't have the metrics used to determine the disbursements of funds to the Safe Streets program." And as for the contracts, Henry's office says they are working to pull them for 2022. Quote, "So it isn't a complete picture."
It is absurd that there are no metrics for the Safe Streets program.
David Williams, president of the Taxpayers Protection Alliance, says every dollar spent should come with a plan, and that plan, Williams says, needs to include metrics of success.
There are a lot of people responsible for this. This is an indictment of the comptroller, of the mayor, of the city council president. Anyone has any hand in the funding of this. You can't just spend money without a plan.
We followed up with Henry's office asking when we could expect to get copies of the contracts and if the comptroller's office doesn't have access to the metrics used to determine how Safe Streets money is handed out, who does? Fox 45 News not getting an answer Friday afternoon, and Monday is a holiday. Jim Shea refusing to answer our questions, while the leaders claim to not know much about how the funding is allocated to a program the mayor claims is the city's flagship violence prevention program. And all of them sit in a row next to each other a few times every month. We've asked to do a sit-down interview with Comptroller Bill Henry, but so far his office hasn't responded, and Monday is a holiday, so we'll continue to work to get that scheduled sometime later this week. In Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Fox 45 News has been investigating the Safe Streets program for months now. You can find this latest report and our past reporting on our website, foxbaltimore.com. Now stay with Fox 45 News as we continue to push for answers.
Well, 2 nights spent in the 30s past couple of nights, including this morning. That happened last time, late April. Now, as we head into tomorrow morning for the morning commute and heading off to school, not quite as cool, but crisp still. Temperatures in the 40s, some 50s near the water, 43 at Elkton, will be at 43 at Denton, and out west, no more frost here with temperatures at 41 at Frederick, 44 Laurel, and 42 down D.C. way. I'm going to let you know when highs are going to get well into the 70s again, and we're tracking the next weather maker with rain on the future scan coming up in a couple of minutes.
Still ahead on Fox 45 News at 10 o'clock tonight, a storied City High School football program is under the federal microscope. Project Baltimore is tracking the money and tells you what appears to not add up. Columbia, Maryland, listed as the safest city in America, according to one report. Well, tonight, the murder investigation just steps from the community college in Columbia. Plus, the Baltimore Ravens finally win one right here in the city. Again, Justin Tucker provides the game-winning kick, but now another big weekend for the team is ahead.
Tonight, more questions surrounding Dunbar High School's football stadium and the money it's generated. Sources say the FBI is investigating.
Now, Project Baltimore's Chris Pabst has new information. He's been following the money from ticket sales, and what he uncovered doesn't appear to add up.
September 22nd, 2017. Game day at Dunbar High School. City rivals the Mervo Mustangs visit the Dunbar Poets. For the players, this game generated bragging rights. For the school system, it generated revenue from ticket sales. Or at least it should have. At Dunbar High School football games, a ticket sells for $5. The first $599 in ticket sales stays at the school. That's about 120 fans. According to City Schools policy, any ticket sale revenue above $599 goes to the district office at North Avenue. That is how the process is supposed to work. Here is what we found. Let's begin in 2016. According to public records, Dunbar sold enough tickets that year to send about $4,200 to North Avenue. But in 2017, the money started drying up. Only 2 games made enough revenue to reach central office. $1,300 in total. That means every other game that season didn't make at least $600 in ticket sales, including this game from September 2017. Fox 45 News was there. In this shot, you can see a clear picture of the stands. In just this area, we count about 120 fans. But as you watch this player run down the sidelines, there are hundreds of additional fans at this game. At $5 a ticket, this game should have generated thousands of dollars for Baltimore City Public Schools. But North Avenue has no record of any money that this game collected. The next season, things went from bad to worse. In 2018 and 2019, it appears nothing went to central office. According to school records, not a single game made $600 in ticket sales over those 2 years. The 2020 season was canceled due to COVID. But in 2021, city schools switched to a digital ticketing system to better track ticket sales. And that year, Dunbar Stadium generated more than $13,000 from 6 games, with nearly $10,000 of that going to central office. So what happened in 2018 and 2019? Why is there no money? In a statement, City Schools said, using data from the digital ticketing platform, we have found a significant disparity between the receipts we receive currently and those submitted before 2021. The district went on to say, if it's determined policies were not followed, appropriate action will be taken.
I think it's definitely an investigation waiting to happen.
Andrea Smith spent 37 years as a federal and state prosecutor in Baltimore. She believes authorities should investigate how much money Dunbar football games made and where it went. In Maryland, it's a felony if someone steals more than $1,500. The money missing from Dunbar could be tens of thousands of dollars.
This is theft, this is fraud, this is misappropriation, stealing from the children. I think it's pretty awful.
Dunbar's football field is part of an ongoing Project Baltimore investigation. 2 years ago, we first reported that Dunbar head football coach Lawrence Smith allowed a multi-million-dollar football league to use the field for free. In return, revenue from ticket and food sales went to an organization Smith founded. Sources tell us that deal is currently part of an FBI investigation, but it's unclear whether there's any connection to missing ticket sale revenue.
Knowing where the money went is certainly interesting, but the bottom line is it didn't go where it was supposed to, and that's all you need to know to get started.
Fox 45 News will stay on this story to find out where the money went. But Dunbar's football stadium is not the only field in the city that generates revenue from ticket sales during football games. We have filed a public records request with city schools to find out how much money other stadiums have made. We'll keep you posted. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Well, new tonight, a vigil for the 17-year-old killed in a car crash in northwest Baltimore on Saturday. The state attorney general's office is investigating that crash because of police involvement in it. The AG says the crash happened after police started following the teen. Authorities say the teen's car collided with two others, sending one of them into a fourth vehicle. Two other people were hurt in the accident. Police nor the AG's office are labeling the 17-year-old boy a suspect or saying what police were even investigating. The attorney general says the police cruiser involved did not have a dashboard camera, but that the officers did have body-worn cameras on, and that video will be released.
The Ravens reverse their fortunes at home. They share why a big win over their rivals will give them momentum going forward.
And still ahead, a new poll shows inflation is top of mind for voters across the nation. Which statewide race could have a big impact, and why?
And a couple more beautiful days coming our way, and it looks like we also have to look forward to the chance of rain with our next weather maker. Take a look. 73 for tomorrow, 73 on Wednesday. Those are dry skies, but there comes a chance of rain on Thursday. We're tracking it hour by hour on the future scan. Let's fast forward to Wednesday. You see here it's going to take some time until those clouds thicken up, but by Thursday morning's commute, things could start getting wet around here for those early risers, second to last day of the work week. I'll let you know how you have to dress tomorrow in your full 7-day forecast around the bend.
A live look at M&T Bank Stadium, where it just seems to look better the night after a win. Still love all the purple out there, and we are all still feeling so good after that last-second win.
Without a doubt, a definite pep in their step. Morgan Atza joins us now with the latest. And Morgan, it's got to feel good for the Ravens, who are in good position in the division now.
Yeah, and when it mattered most, at home, the start of AFC North play, prime time against a team that swept them last season with a division lead on the line. The Ravens got their first home win, and finally things bounced their way at the bank. They were riding solo as Kings of the North at 3-2 thanks to last night's 19-17 win over the Bengals. The Ravens weren't perfect offensively or on defense, but both sides made plays when needed. And as a coaching staff, they took the points. Justin Tucker, 4 for 4, a 58-yarder in the third, and game winner as the clock hit zeros. Just one win, but it felt like more after bad outcomes at home this season with Miami and Buffalo prior.
All the work that we put in over the offseason for games like this is what we was building on. So just to be able to go out there and capitalize on this dub means a lot. Just for the time being, once we watch the film, the relief gone, now it's back to work. So we definitely appreciate this win, but it's time to move on once we watch the film.
The only negative from last night, the Ravens just lost one of their best defenders for a while. Safety Marcus Williams dislocated his wrist. He's heading to the IR. It is not season ending, though, so I guess that's somewhat good news.
Some good news there indeed, Morgan. Thank you. Another example of violence in Baltimore County schools. The questions we're demanding answers to as parents' calls for action grow louder.
A murder in what some consider the safest city in America. What we know about the investigation underway in Columbia.
Controversy on the campaign trail, the reaction pouring in at an event billed as the Unite the Right rally. Why gubernatorial candidate Dan Cox is backing out. Those stories and more coming up in 3 minutes.
Our top story at 10:30, an increase in violence in the counties surrounding Baltimore City over the past week.
In Howard County, police are investigating a murder in Columbia as Wallet Hub names it the safest city in America for the 5th year in a row. Fox 45's Amy Simpson has more on what you need to know about the suspect.
But we begin in Baltimore County, where the violence is reaching children. Rebecca Pryor demanding some answers as another video of a violent fight in school circulates on social media.
As parents continue seeking solutions to the violence, we continue seeking answers from school officials, local advocates, even calling the situation out of control.
Another day, another video of violence surfacing from a Baltimore County school. This one making the rounds on social media, taking place inside the halls of Lansdowne High School. The student taking one of the videos in shock and screaming, as several other students exchange back-to-back blows. Another angle allegedly showing the school's principal among those being attacked.
When I watch that fight, it's becoming all too common.
Baltimore County Parent and Student Coalition member Darren Badillo says last year he counted 23 incidents at 18 different Baltimore County schools. And this year, with a string of violent videos already on the books, he's expecting to easily surpass that.
How can our kids learn when they're in this fight or flight mode? We wonder why the grades and proficiency levels are down so low, because how can these kids learn when they're surrounded by violence?
According to Badillo, it all comes down to a lack of consequences.
They don't want to suspend kids that are Black or Hispanic. They said it's a pathway to jail. But if we don't hold these kids accountable in the classroom, we will see them in the courtroom, and it's not fair.
Last week, Baltimore County schools sending a statement saying this type of behavior will not be tolerated. Following the new video, we followed up, asking, were these students held accountable for their actions? And how does the county plan to stop this distracting and dangerous behavior from continuing? The school system claiming, quote, student privacy laws prohibit us from sharing specific details about the student consequences. The community can be assured that students are held accountable. Going on to say a virtual town hall will be held Thursday discussing BPS's efforts to ensure student and staff safety.
I mean, it is out of control right now. We need the leaders. We need the principals, we need elected officials to fight for these kids so they have to fight for themselves.
Now, for those interested in attending that virtual town hall, it is on Thursday and it starts at 6 p.m. For more details, you can find them in this story on our website at foxbaltimore.com. Reporting in Baltimore County, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Well, this is just the latest violence we've seen in Baltimore County schools over the past several weeks. At Towson High School, 2 women came forward with a Snapchat video of a fight between 3 girls. There were several incidents at Perry Hall High School, of course. A parent sent us video that they say is their daughter getting beat up. Another video shows a girl wielding a bat. Her family claims she was just trying to protect herself from bullies. They say this happened in front of school administrators. And finally, last Thursday, the school had to go on lockdown after police broke up a fight behind the school. A student had to be taken to the hospital and all after-school activities were canceled. Well, that brings us to our question of the day. Does Baltimore County Public Schools have a handle on the violence taking place on campus? So far, 99% of those who voted say no. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in.
As Wallet Hub names Columbia, Maryland, the safest city in America for the 5th year in a row, Howard County police are investigating a deadly shooting. Fox 45's Amy Simpson has the latest on that investigation.
Howard County police have now identified the victim as 36-year-old Rocky Miguel Jones Onyejaka, but tonight still no suspect information. Police calling this an active investigation, but now also referring to it as a homicide.
Neighbors say it happened here in the parking lot Friday night.
I heard like a loud bang, came outside, and they was giving somebody CPR across the street.
A man they say lived in this apartment complex off Hickory Ridge Road was shot and killed outside his building.
They was trying to bring him back to life, and I guess he was already dead.
It was just a huge scene out here.
This woman says she came home to see the police lights and crime scene tape.
And they hadn't covered him up or anything.
The victim's body still in the parking lot.
Yeah, the body stayed out there for quite some time. It was traumatic for me to actually see a dead body where I live.
After questions from Fox 45 News today, the 36-year-old victim was identified late this afternoon. Police saying they do not believe this shooting was random. A $5,000 reward now on the table table for information.
I've never seen no dead body in Columbia, not like that.
But residents say there have been no updates from property management.
It would be nice to know what's going on in my community right under my nose. I really don't feel safe.
And with news today of Columbia ranked as the safest city in America once again.
Yeah. I feel safe.
These two residents say they do believe it, even despite a man shot dead just steps from where they live.
I do. I moved here originally for work, and for the 2 years that I've been here, it's been quiet. I love living here.
Meanwhile, this apartment complex is run by Henderson Webb. I called that company today and spoke with a receptionist. She told me that they had no information to provide about this incident and directed all questions back to Howard County Police. But when I asked to speak with management and inquired about what info has gone out to residents here in Columbia, the phone was quickly hung up. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
In your Vote 2022 coverage, a new poll from The Economist and YouGov shows inflation is becoming more important to Americans as the midterm election gets closer. It shows 74% of American adults rate the issue or inflation issue as very important, to a big jump from 64% in the poll a month earlier. And there were big increases across demographic groupings. The share of African Americans who see inflation as very important rose from 56% to 75%. Among Hispanic Americans, the very important share rose from 64% to 74%. Political analyst John Deedy says we could see the impact of those results in Maryland elections, particularly when it comes to the comptroller's race.
Maybe a Barry Glassman, because he's running for comptroller, and this deals with the state's pocketbook. Glassman could be effective in making this an issue. He does have some money, and he could do that. I would say if any race where you're going to see economic issues come out statewide, it's going to be the comptroller's race.
Well, Republican Eurypsy Morgan, who's running against incumbent Congressman John Sarbanes in Maryland's 3rd District, is also addressing inflation. It was one of the many topics our Mackenzie Frost covered when she sat down with the candidate for a one-on-one interview.
How do you address the rising inflation and the problems that that's putting on families?
It started with the Trump administration. It started during COVID. And this, again, is where, like Governor Hogan, I would say, look, either Republicans, we are fiscally conservative, or we're not. The $6 trillion that were spent over the last couple of years started with the Trump administration and ended with the Biden administration. We don't prioritize. You have people who have been in office for 15 years, like my opponent, who rather than prioritize, stay in office because he is very beholden to special interests. So when they want something, he gives it to them.
You can find Mackenzie's full conversation with Morgan on our website, foxbaltimore.com/vote2022. That's also where you can find the Fox 45 voter guide for all of our reporting on the upcoming election. Congressman Sarbanes has not yet agreed to an invitation for an interview.
Republican candidate for Maryland Governor Dan Cox is backing out of a local event billed as the Unite the Right event after a news outlet points out that it shares the same name as the 2017 deadly event in Charlottesville, Virginia. Former Republican congressional candidate Kim Klacik organized that event. Several other Republican candidates, including Eurypsy Morgan and Nicolai Ambrose, who are both running for Congress, were listed as attendees. Both of them tell Fox 45 News they never received an invitation, nor would they attend the event. Klacik says the event will go on as planned, despite Cox backing out. You can find more in this story, including full statements from Kim Klacik and the Cox campaign, on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
Former President Donald Trump is picking up his political activity ahead of the midterm elections. He held back-to-back rallies in Arizona and Nevada over the weekend. Meanwhile, President Biden spent the weekend in Delaware, and it comes as several Democratic candidates in battleground states seem to be distancing themselves from the president on issues like immigration.
I've stood up to Democrats when they're wrong on this issue.
Biden does need to step up immigration and border security.
President Biden is set to travel out west this week with stops in Colorado, California, and Oregon. He's expected to tout the bipartisan infrastructure law and draw a contrast with Republicans on issues like health care and Social Security.
With the finish line in sight and midterm elections just 4 weeks away, there's no holding back. for the parties or the candidates.
That at times can mean digging into an old bag of tricks to sway voters. Sinclair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman explains.
I do not like this woke garbage.
One of the biggest threats to our elections is the campaign of misinformation.
With 1 month to go, the stumping for support these midterms reaching a fevered pitch on the trail and online. But a recent report by Axios reveals not all is as it seems. They documented a group of 51 locally branded news sites that offer neighborhood news and sports, but mixed in with heavily pro-Democrat, sometimes anti-Republican stories, in part launched by Democratic operative and fundraiser David Brock, also known for founding the left-leaning media watchdog Media Matters for America. The sites started in key swing states integral to the 2021-22 elections.
This is a way to make people think that they're getting all the information because they're getting it from an independent source or a disinterested source when they're not.
The American Independent, which provides much of that story content, telling us where local news outlets shut down, dis and misinformation grows. And to combat this challenge, they've expanded to bring readers local fact-based news and information. These types of tactics are nothing new nor exclusive to just one side. Whether control of Congress or the White House at stake, both parties have been accused of trying to muddy the waters. In recent years, the conservative group Metric Media was criticized by Media Matters for similar under-the-radar strategies, according to the New York Times, for using hundreds of locally branded news sites with stories directed by political groups and corporate PR firms to promote a Republican candidate.
This is always the case. It's always the case that certain sides want to emphasize certain issues, de-emphasize other issues.
With control of Congress and state capitals up for grabs. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
New tonight, some federal agencies are working together on ways to help student loan recipients avoid getting scammed. Their push comes to the Biden administration approved $10,000 in student loan forgiveness to many borrowers. Now, some people can have $20,000 forgiven. The Department of Education has a do's and don'ts guidelines in a new website. The FCC is working to identify scam loan phone calls and block calls through phone providers.
Prepare for higher prices this winter. Which parts of your budget will be stretched in the next few months?
And the bus stop forecast for tomorrow looks like you're probably going to need those jackets in the morning. Make sure you write the kids' names on the jackets, maybe in the, the tag section there, because by afternoon, maybe apt to lose that jacket as we make it to 72 degrees and short sleeves are back out as they're picked up at the bus stop. Going to let you know how long we stay with the sun and if we could have some rain for weekend plans in the 7-day forecast coming up in a couple of minutes. Complicated forecast. We're getting dressed tomorrow. What you're going to need for Tuesday for yourself and getting the kids ready for school and work, etc. Let's bring it back there. You can see here we're going to start the day on the cold side. So maybe a winter jacket, scarves, and maybe even some gloves. By lunchtime, we're going with the light jacket or sweater. And then by the afternoon, short sleeves and sunglasses. And temperature's going to be back up into the 70s. Kind of like today. We had a high of 71. We're at 50 now. Winds out of the southwest at 3. Gorgeous look there at M&T Bank Stadium. Humidity 80%. And the dew point, the measure of moisture in the air, is in the 40s. So it is dry. It is crisp. Not as chilly tonight as what we saw this morning when we made it down to 39. Temperatures in the 40s to around 50 right now, and not a drop of rain on the radar till you get way down there off the coast of the Carolinas. And the next weather maker beginning to fester here right around Dallas. For now, clear and cool, compliments of fair weather high pressure, our latest weather maker. But warmer weather to come, and then the potential of some rain. And that next weather maker makes it here by Thursday. Now, there is a low chance of tropical development here just south and east of the Yucatan Peninsula. Eventually, could be a 30% chance of development as it makes the move towards the Bay of Campeche, perhaps 5 to 10 days away. So that's something that we'll be watching, but should not be any impacts here on the East Coast, maybe down towards South Texas, eastern Mexico. Outside of that, around here overnight, mainly clear skies. The last little bits of the, actually still looks pretty good out there, the Hunter's moon. You'll be able to see that under the clear skies. And you'll also probably need sunglasses tomorrow morning to see well, because we will have full sun. Temperatures in the 40s to around 50 to begin. And then tomorrow afternoon, even warmer than today as we make it back into the low to mid 70s. Outdoor lunch alert, everybody. 44 degrees, clear skies, jackets by morning tonight. 73, sunshine, pleasantly mild. Short sleeves tomorrow afternoon. AM sun, PM clouds Wednesday. Rain on and off Thursday. Friday, Saturday looking good, although Ravens parties on Sunday could feature some umbrellas.
Jonathan, thank you. Well, some schools in Florida are preparing to reopen following Hurricane Ian. Governor Ron DeSantis says the state is responding to requests for assistance at many schools that were damaged by water and high wind. Crews are working to get the buildings back in shape for the students, and that includes removing trees and debris from several schools and bus stops and replacing damaged ceiling tiles. According to an update from Charlotte County Schools, 19 out of 21 schools will be back Tuesday, October 18th.
And I think that's really, really important because you have a lot of families that have gone through, maybe their home's damaged, maybe they just didn't have significant damage, but they want to get back to normal. You have the kids really need to be in school. It's really important for them. It's important for the community.
Meanwhile, hard-hit Lee County says it hopes to return students to an educational environment by Monday the 17th. Through a post on Facebook, the school district said a majority of school sites are ready to open, but 18 of them are not. The chief economic advisor to a financial services company says the Federal Reserve made two big mistakes when it comes to inflation. The first was characterizing it as temporary. The second was not addressing the problem sooner.
And as a result, we risk mistake number 3, which is by not easing their foot off the accelerator last year, they are slamming on the brakes this year, which would tip us into recession. I fear that we risk a very high probability of a damaging recession that was totally avoidable.
Other economists point to different problems, namely the fact that the Fed is trying to slow demand through interest rate hikes while severe supply chain issues remain. And as prices rise, temperatures falling, experts are warning everybody to keep an eye on how much you use your furnace this season. Heating your home is expected to cost more than last year. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar takes a look at other ways inflation could impact us this winter.
As cooler weather moves in, expect to feel the pinch of energy costs. Gas up another 12 cents over the past week, with the national average climbing back up to $3.91. As they fill up, many closely watching every dollar.
There's my $8. That's why I'm only spending $8 because it is so expensive.
Many come to expect expensive gas, but a different shock could come from your utility bill. The National Energy Assistance Directors Association forecasts this winter it will cost $86 more than last winter to heat a home with electricity, and more than $200 more to heat homes with natural gas, propane, or heating oil. And while many Americans have seen their wages go up over the past year, as Bankrate chief economist Greg McBride explains, for the most part, they're not keeping up up with inflation.
Their budget is getting squeezed more and more. And so the casualties become the discretionary items. And that might mean holiday travel gets scaled back or skipped altogether.
A new Bankrate survey finds that of the 43% of U.S. adults who plan to travel for the holidays, almost 8 in 10 of them are adjusting those plans because of rising prices.
Everything from a shorter trip, different destination, different activities, choosing to drive instead of fly.
Some relief could come with holiday shopping. Retailers with excess inventory are expected to offer steep discounts, but the cost of shipping could spike. USPS proposing price increases to keep up with inflation. If approved, would be rolled out in January. What kind of price pain will last beyond winter is anyone's guess. On Monday, Chicago Fed President Charles Evans says he's seeing improvements in supply chains that could ease inflation. But he also said the Federal Reserve will get even more restrictive with its monetary policy, things like raising interest rates, policy moves that are stoking fears of recession. In Washington, I'm Atrell Nishar.
Well, violent crime in Baltimore seems like it's slowing, but will it stay that way? The concerned staffing shortages could set the city back. If you have rebound symptoms, it may be a good thing. What we're learning about how we react to COVID-fighting drugs. And when the game is on the line, there is absolutely no one better. Hearing from the Ravens after Justin Tucker's heroics last night.
Ravens back in the win column after week 5, but let me start with the bad. They lost one of their best defenders for a while. Safety Marcus Williams dislocated his wrist. Believed on this play, he's heading to the IR. It's not season ending. Williams entered week 5 leading the Ravens in tackles and interceptions with 3. And it happened early in the game. And what's crazy is he played all the way through until halftime with the injury, and then he was shut down. Get beat by the big play. The offense closed in the 2-minute drill, getting into field goal range, and the Ravens had the ball when the clock hit 0 off the foot of kicker Justin Tucker. It seemed like finally in week 5, it all went the Ravens' way at home. The Ravens got their first win at the bank this season, snapping that 5-game skid dating back to last year, and they took the points. The result, a 19-17 win over Cincinnati to open up AFC North play, and the Ravens are now in first place.
I feel like these type of games, it helps your team build, build strength. Hopefully make it to the playoffs. That's the type of game it's going to be, tough games. And that's a tough team. Bengals played a great game.
This is a good, tough win. These games are built in character. We're going to have a lot more tough ball games ahead of us. That's just football, Another big one this week against a, opponent that's 4-1. That's huge. So, we're going to be locked in. We're going to be ready.
As Campbell mentioned, now it's back to MetLife to face the Giants, the 4-1 New York Giants, led by former Ravens, now Giants defensive coordinator Don Martindale, and a handful of former Ravens on their depth chart.
Morgan, thanks. If you're looking for somewhere to feel the Halloween spirit, we have the place for you. Taking a walk through one of the spookiest haunted houses around. Well, if you're looking for a way to experience some frights this Halloween season, Bennett's Curse is for you. Mark Clark went to Dundalk to discover the secrets of the curse.
We're at Bennett's Curse, and it's almost 22 years of frightening everybody. I'm here with Rob, who is actually in charge of production. Rob, another great season.
It's going to be even better than any of the other seasons we had. The Bennetts are always improving this place, and it's new. If you thought you saw it in previous years, you need to come out and see it this year. There are so many new things in store for you. Your worst fear is behind that front door. Come on in and see. Have a good time.
Fox 45 News, I'm Mark Clark. You got me. You got me.
Will staffing shortages erase progress in stopping violent crime? The concern surrounding the shrinking number of officers on the Baltimore Police Department. Crime on a college campus. The concerns from Morgan State students as that part of the city has not yet seen improvements in the crime fight. Parents say kids can't learn if they're not safe. The growing number of concerns over fighting in Baltimore County schools.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News Late Edition.
In a city in crisis, the city's homicide rate seems to be slowing, but Baltimore is still struggling to control crime. The number of killings down compared to last year. September saw the fewest lives lost in years. Well, despite the trend, there are concerns that progress is not sustainable as the police department faces staffing shortages. Jeff Abel has the story.
Well, we're here at the Northern District tonight where there are half as many officers on any given shift fighting crime than there were a decade ago. It's a predicament that continues to worsen and one that's keeping the city's crime fight on life support. When it comes to staffing, Baltimore's police department is in critical condition. The number of officers quitting far exceeds the number of officers who are joining.
When you are losing more officers to retirement and resignations than you can recruit, they're leaving faster than they join, you are in trouble. And Baltimore has been in trouble for a decade.
In fact, staffing statistics from the FBI show that in 2013, more than 2,800 officers were fighting crime in Baltimore, but the numbers have declined every year since. And today, the number of officers has dwindled to less than 2,200.
That means there are only 3 officers for every 4 that the city used to have. And yet crime is getting out of control.
City leaders seem convinced that the presence of officers often deters crime.
We need foot patrol in these areas.
In May, city council members demanded a summer crime plan that resulted in beefed up patrols in the Central District, among others. So far, there have been half as many homicides in that district this year compared to last year. But as the number of officers dwindle, the demand for additional patrols may soon be impossible to meet.
Baltimore Police Department, as it exists now, cannot be sustained unless it can recruit more and retain more of its officers, which it seems under the current leadership, both at the mayor's office and the commissioner's office, incapable of doing.
In a statement, the president of the city's police union writes, "We continue to lose officers at an unprecedented pace. Uniformed patrol is operating in the Rob Peter to pay Paul mentality. Patrol is dangerously low in personnel, as are the detective units. Triaging calls and cases is the norm." Sean Kennedy with the Maryland Public Policy Institute predicts even fewer officers down the road.
If Baltimore has 1,000 officers by the end of the decade, I'll be shocked.
While many police departments across this country are now in a recruiting war for officers, the situation here in Baltimore, according to experts, is far different because its staffing shortage started years ago and the city has yet to recover. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Police officers are working overtime to make up for the staffing problem. Last month, the president of the union told Fox 45 News officers were forced to work overtime with little to no notice to cover the Maryland Cycling Classic. Officers are also working overtime to watch street corners where squeegee kids gather. Police Commissioner Michael Harrison says that plan is not sustainable, but the BPD tells Fox 45 News there's no end date for those added patrols. In August, BPD announced new efforts to recruit and retain officers, including a $5,000 signing bonus and $1,000 a month for new recruits to help with housing in their first year. The department also increased starting officer pay to $60,000 and gave all current members an 11% pay increase. When those incentives were announced, some law enforcement experts that Fox 45 spoke with said the money wasn't enough.
Morale in the Baltimore Police Department is very, very low. And it has nothing to do with money or benefits. Political support from the mayor, from the Baltimore City Council, from the state's attorney. Why would you continue to work at a place that doesn't support you and that actually puts you in legal jeopardy every day that you come to work?
Even though deadly incidents citywide are down, violent crime in Northeast Baltimore is on the rise. The latest data from Open Baltimore shows 37 people have been killed in that part of the city this year, more than double the amount from the same time last year. And 72 people have been shot and survived compared to 39 this time last year. Well, some of that crime is making its way onto college campuses. A 20-year-old was shot outside the Morgan State Student Center over the weekend, weeks after a security guard was killed at an apartment complex just off campus. Keith Daniels has more on efforts to protect students.
Well, it was back to school for students here on campus after a violent weekend, and tonight, how they're coping on campus with the crime. At Morgan State University,
it's a beautiful campus.
For some students,
yeah, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
The timing of a shooting that happened on campus
it's crazy.
Is alarming.
I'm not really shocked, but at the same time, it's crazy because it's homecoming. We're supposed to have a good time.
A 20-year-old man shot down Saturday night outside the Student Center on campus during homecoming weekend. The shooter got away. The victim, who police say was not enrolled in the university, survived. Students back at school Monday reacting to the shooting and the gun violence seen in the city spilling on campus.
It's something that you don't like. I mean, obviously you want to feel safe on your own campus. You want this place to feel like home. You want to feel protected.
This is not the first time gun violence touched Morgan. At the beginning of the school year, Julian Frew, a security guard at an off-campus apartment complex, was shot and killed. Police arrested Chase Wilson, a Morgan student, in that killing. And last year, an 18-year-old student was injured in a shooting on campus after homecoming activities. All of the shootings happened in the Northeastern Police District, where, according to BPD, there have been 37 homicides and 72 non-fatal shootings so far this year. Violent crime around Morgan's campus, and this weekend, on campus.
I always watch my surroundings and watch my back, and I don't be out at night by myself, so on campus.
I do expect things like that to not be happening on campus or preferably in the area at all. But I do feel like despite that, we are rather safe while being on this campus.
Well, so far, no arrests in that campus shooting. Anyone with information is urged to call police. You can remain anonymous by calling Metro Crime Stoppers, and you could be eligible for a reward. At Morgan State University, Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
And we'd like to know what you think. Do you believe Baltimore's police shortage will lead to increased violence? It's early, but so far, 100% of you who are voting say yes. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to click on the Pulse tab to weigh in. Videos of fights in Baltimore County Public Schools are circulating. The most recent happened at Lansdowne High School, a brawl that took place there. In that clip, multiple groups of students can be seen fighting, and at one point it looks like the principal is hit. Parents and members of the community say this issue is getting out of hand and that more needs to be done to keep kids safe.
How can our kids learn when they're in this fight or flight mode? We wonder why the grades and proficiency levels are down so low, because how can these kids learn when they're surrounded by violence? They don't want to suspend kids that are Black or Hispanic. They said it's a pathway to jail. But if we don't hold these kids accountable in the classroom, we will see them in the courtroom, and it's not fair.
Well, the most recent incident at Lansdowne comes after multiple fights at Towson and Perry Hall High Schools. There will be a virtual town hall on school safety this Thursday at 6 o'clock. For more information on how to attend, head to foxbaltimore.com.
Now, a Fox 45 News Alert in 3, 2, 1.
Well, tonight a vigil was held for a 17-year-old killed in a car crash in northwest Baltimore on Saturday. Authorities say police were on a routine patrol when they started following a 17-year-old boy driving. Shortly after, the teen's car crashed into two others at an intersection, sending one of them into a fourth vehicle. Two other people were hurt. The state attorney general's office is investigating this crash because of the police involvement. Neither police nor the AG's office, though, have labeled the teen as a suspect or revealed what police were even investigating. The attorney general says the police cruiser involved did not have a dashboard camera, but the officers did have body-worn cameras on. If those cameras were on, the video is expected to be released. Kai.
All right, Mary, thank you. Coming up on Fox 45 News, and new developments tonight on a deadly shooting in Columbia. Also, gubernatorial candidate Dan Cox says he doesn't want anything to do with an event meant to help get him elected. The controversy surrounding the name of a local Republican rally. Here's a look at today's top trending stories. Number one, Howard County Police have identified the victim in a deadly shooting in Columbia over the weekend. Police say 36-year-old Rocky Miguel Jones Onyeaka was shot and killed Friday. It happened just after 8 in an apartment complex off Hickory Ridge Road. Now, police are offering a reward of up to $5,000 for information in this case. Anyone who knows anything should call Howard County Police. Number two, days after that deadly shooting, Columbia is ranked the safest city to live in the entire country. Now, the website Wallet Hub looked at 182 cities across the U.S. and ranked them based on their safety, financial security, and also natural disaster risk. Columbia ranked best in community safety and traffic fatalities per capita. Baltimore ranked 161 out of 182 cities, though that is an improvement from last year when it was 164. Number three, 7 people were arrested after a protest shut down 495, the Capitol Beltway in Montgomery County. According to Maryland State Police, just after 10:30 this morning, more than 10 people dressed in neon vests and walked onto the highway and sat down, blocking traffic. Protesters were asked to leave by police before they were issued citations and arrested. Police did not specify what the protest was about. And a Severn woman arrested yesterday after authorities said that she attacked police officers in Glen Burnie in Anne Arundel County. Around 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon, officers were called to the scene on Ertel Road after a report of a woman threatening people with a hammer. As they arrested her, police say that she bit and kicked officers. 26-year-old Kiera Walston now faces charges of assault, reckless endangerment, robbery, and theft and trespassing. Rebound symptoms could be a good thing, according to some officials. What we're learning about how our bodies react to COVID treatments.
And a good-looking but chilly start to our Tuesday. Temperatures in the 40s at 6 and 7 a.m. Sun comes up. Temperatures rise into the 50s to near 60. I'm going to let you know how much warmer it's going to be tomorrow and when your commutes could be ruined by rain with our next weather maker. It's all on my Weather Authority forecast.
Republican candidate for governor Dan Cox is backing out of a local event billed as Unite the Right after he's informed it shares the same name as the deadly 2017 event in Charlottesville. Former Republican congressional candidate Kim Klacik organized that event. Well, Cox's campaign released a statement saying he will no longer be involved in the event in any way. Congressional candidates Uripsy Morgan and Nicolai Ambrose were also listed as attendees, but their campaigns deny being involved in or being invited to the event. Meantime, far-right rights groups held an event called Unite the Right in 2017. At one point, participants shouted anti-Semitic chants, and a counter-protester, Heather Heyer, was killed when a man drove his car into a crowd of demonstrators. Now, Kim Klacik, who's a Republican, told Fox 45, quote, "I was trying to unite the Republicans in the state of Maryland. I just think it's quite silly that anybody would try to link the name to Charlottesville and white supremacy," end quote. You can find more in this story, including full statements from Kim Klacik and the Cox campaign, on our website, foxbaltimore.com. November 8th is Election Day. Early voting runs for 8 days, beginning October 27th, ending November 3rd. Mail-in ballot request forms must be received by November 1st. Same-day registration will be available Election Day with proof of address.
Temperatures making the tumble down into the 40s. Already clear skies on the Mile 1 Tallahassee Camp. 49 winds out of the west and southwest at 3 miles an hour. That's a warmer direction, and that means some warmer air is going to be coming toward us, and that actually is going to be tomorrow as well as Wednesday. Humidity 83%, but the dew point, that's our measure of moisture in the air. Dry, crisp, feeling pretty good. Now, up at Westminster, some of the higher elevations actually are kind of trailing behind as their warmer air has been kind of hanging on a little bit more with 57 degrees there and 51 at Bel Air, 51 at Elkton, and 50 at Chestertown. You get down into the lower elevations where the winds have calmed. We're at 49 in Baltimore, 46 at Columbia, and 47 at Laurel. I think for the most part we stay in the 40s tonight, unlike what we saw last night and the night before when we had lows in the mid to upper 30s, even some frosty spots, especially north and west. That probably won't be happening tonight. By the way, last time we had two 30-degree or 30-some-odd degree lows in a row. That was back in April, so it's been quite some time. Temperatures right now running about 5 to 10 degrees or so, or about 5 degrees above where they were just 24 hours ago. So this is looking better for a not as cold morning. You'll still need a jacket, but it probably won't be quite as chilly. Now, for tomorrow, look at this. There's some showers and thunderstorms way down to the south and east, and another round that's way out to the west around Oklahoma City and Dallas. But in between, not a whole lot going on. So it looks like as we start cool with fair weather high pressure, our main weather maker for tomorrow, during the afternoon, we warm up even further than we did for the 71 that we made today. Tomorrow, probably about 73. Notice a rain that's west of St. Louis. Well, that system led in by warm air initially is going to continue its progress eastbound, and it looks like that rain gets here not Wednesday, maybe some clouds Wednesday, but especially on Thursday. Now, down in the tropics, after a very active period, we only have one game in town right now. It's a 30% chance of development south and east of the Bay of Campeche, as well as the Yucatan Peninsula. Low chance of development, but it'll take about 5 to 10 days if it becomes anything, impacts eastern, northern Mexico, and maybe southern Texas. Morning commute starts off chilly, but by afternoon, again, we rise quickly through the 60s into the 70s. Again, starting off early tomorrow morning with jacket weather, some mid to upper 40s in the cold spots, otherwise right near 50 degrees, and then a quick rise tomorrow afternoon back to 70 to 75 under ample sunshine. So another real winter. 44, clear skies, jackets back by morning. For tomorrow, 73, sunshine, pleasantly mild, 70 forecast, 70 to 75 on Wednesday. Rain, maybe a thunderstorm for Thursday. That's our next weather maker. Cold front cools us down to the 60s, the lows 30s, 40s for Friday, Saturday. Maybe a stray shower for Ravens parties on Sunday.
Sounds good to me, Jonathan. Thank you. Rebound symptoms of COVID could be a good sign. What symptoms after COVID-19 could actually mean. We have new insight today about what causes rebound symptoms after a common medication is given to slow the spread of COVID-19. Medical reporter Liz Bona shares a new study from the National Institutes of Health.
Hey there, it turns out that a rebound of COVID-19 symptoms in some patients who take the antiviral medication known as Paxlovid may be related to a strong boost in your immune system or your immune response, according to this new study, instead of a weak one. This means an additional course of the drug beyond 5 days, not necessary.
It basically prevents the continued spread of the virus versus curing you from the virus.
In this intensive investigation of 8 patients by NIH researchers, all of the patients in the study developed robust immune responses after taking Paxlovid. But researchers found those who experienced rebound or the return of COVID-19 symptoms days later had higher levels of antibodies, the body's fight response, compared to those who did not have symptoms come back.
As the progression of the disease slows down, these antibodies ramp up because they're given time to create the immune response, and then we feel like we're sick.
Dr. Justin Kobe of Ohio's Cedar Care Village Pharmacy at Cedarville University says much like the COVID-19 vaccine makes some people feel achy and sick as the body responds and builds up immunity, the same thing is happening days after a treatment of this drug fighting the virus.
People aren't getting reinfected. The virus isn't immune to Paxlovid. It's really just our own physical response.
I know for a while you said it was pretty tough for patients to get this, but now with the test to treat, that's a little different?
Essentially, we can test somebody here at the pharmacy. If they test positive and meet certain criteria, we can go ahead and provide the Paxlovid to them.
Remember, this medication needs to be taken within the first 5 days of symptoms to be most effective. I'm medical reporter Liz Bonas. Now back to you.
Well, the Ravens sit at the top of the AFC North thanks to Justin Tucker's foot. But a starter is heading to the IR. A Sunday night recap coming up on Sports Unlimited. Yep. Oh, we got a big record to tell you about, folks. A record set today. There's a new largest pumpkin in the United States. Check this out. Look at this entry to the 49th World Championship Pumpkin Weigh Off. It came in at a whopping 2,560 pounds. That makes it the largest pumpkin ever grown in the United States, breaking the previous record by just 6 pounds. However, it does come up short of the all-time world record. Last year, a man in Italy grew a pumpkin that weighed 2,700 pounds. There you go. Well, that's all for us on the late edition. I'm Kai Jackson. Here's Morgan Atson with Sports Unlimited. Morgan.
Thank you, Kai. Where are all the doom and gloom Ravens fans today? I get most of you realize it's truly game by game, but some of you I was a little worried about on social media after home losses to the Bills and Dolphins. But after week 5, all appears back to normal for the Ravens. Now at the top of the AFC North, riding solo at 3-2 thanks to last night's 19-17 win over the Bengals. The Ravens were not perfect offensively or on defense. It was bend, don't break mode defensively, no big plays. The offense, when the game mattered, 2-minute drill put the ball in the best player's hands with Lamar Jackson's runs. And they took the points. And Justin Tucker, they trusted all night 4 times, a 58-yarder in the third, and that game winner as the clock hit 0.
I still prayed, though. But I really didn't have no doubt, though, because I thank God we got Tuck on our side.
Automatic Tuck. That's it.
You know, this was a big team win that we needed to have, division opponent. So to be able to come out on top, it's a great feeling.
Tucker, the big winner last night, but whoever started this meme today on Twitter gets another dub. It's a spinoff of the Christmas Story. Ravens fans, when they look at kicker Justin Tucker's automatic leg, in year 11, Tucker has never missed a field goal in the final minute of a game or in overtime. The only negative from last night, the Ravens just lost one of their best defenders for a while. Safety Marcus Williams dislocated his wrist. He's heading to the IR. It is not season ending. Williams entered week 5 leading the Ravens in tackles and interceptions with 3. This appears to be the play in the first quarter. Williams played through it until halftime. Now it's time for Geno Stone and Kyle Hamilton to see more reps at safety until his return. Here's Harbaugh with more on Williams' injury.
Timetable will kind of be based on what the IR number is, so I don't really want to get into dates and times and stuff like that, but it'll be a significant amount of time. It won't be a season ender, though. I don't know exactly which play it was, but it was I think it's the first or second series, because I just remember being on the sideline and it was really bothering him early in the game, and he gutted it out. He didn't really say too much about it, so I don't think anybody realized how serious it was.
So they lost one Sunday but got one back. Left tackle Ronnie Stanley, his first game at M&T Bank Stadium in 2 years since that season-ending ankle injury in 2020. Multiple surgeries later and just one game last season. Stanley has returned. He was on a limited snap count, not on the game-winning drive. That was Patrick McCary, but it's a step in getting the All-Pro left tackle back to form.
I thought I played, pretty good for the snaps that I had. I just went in with zero doubts about my ability, and I think that was a big difference from last year, and to be going in fully confident. Everything feels good, a little soreness, but, nothing major. I think it's only going to get better from here.
The addition of former second-round pick Andy Isabella became official. The Ravens signed the wide receiver to their practice squad. He was released by Arizona last week. Isabella has speed, but now in just his 4th season, 447 yards and only 3 touchdowns. Just as the Ravens take the North lead, the Browns are getting stronger. Cleveland quarterback Deshaun Watson is back at the team's facility. Watson can do everything while suspended except throw to teammates or practice with the team. Watson has 6 more games to sit out, including October 23rd against the Ravens, before his return to face his former team, Houston, on December 4th. The first firing of a head coach this season has happened after 5 games. Carolina parted ways with Matt Rule and their defensive coordinator and another assistant. A 1-4 start for the Panthers this season, and Rule is 11-27 since taking over in 2020. Rule still has 4 years left on his contract and is owed north of $40 million. I think he'll be okay. That's all for Sports Unlimited tonight. I'm Morgan Atson. Thanks for watching and have a great night.